Chapter 3. The Headache. An adaptive interface must never grant a mind more than the mind can answer for. Capability without proportion is not a gift. It is a fall, waiting for a body to fall in. VERITAS Ethics Review Note. Archived Draft. Ezra Kane woke with a drill behind his right eye and the impression that whoever held it had chosen patience over force. He did not move at first. Movement made the pain flare. He stared at the hairline crack in the bedroom ceiling and listened to his own pulse count time in the dark. He did not know Lena Ariston had taken a skull into the dark below her lab, or that a girl on a southbound transfer had begun counting exits. He only knew VERITAS had put an ancient word inside machinery built to touch the human will. The room around him held the stillness of a life arranged not to ask for comfort. On the chair by the bed lay his old teacher's prayer book, still open to a page Ezra had not prayed through. Across from him, the seminary photograph remained face down on the shelf.
"Too much coffee,"
he muttered. The neural band above his left ear disagreed. Sleep debt, 11.3 hours. Stress index, elevated. Cortical noise, above baseline. The transparent overlay hovered at the edge of his vision, projected from the narrow strip of black polymer at his temple. Ezra turned his head until the data slid out of sight. Hospitals called the medical builds neural lace. Wellness companies called the softer ones focus aids. Ezra called all of them intimate machinery. VERITAS paid him to find the place where help became coercion. Some mornings, like this one, he wondered whether they had hired him because he could stop something from happening, or because he made the company look as if it wanted to be stopped. Austin lay outside his window before sunrise, all sodium light and wet pavement. The city never slept. It only lowered its voice. Ezra swung his legs out of bed. He did not turn on the lights. He had memorized the apartment in the 3 years since he moved in, and he had changed almost nothing since. Second-hand couch, books stacked by subject and grief. A room careful enough to pass inspection, and lonely enough to tell the truth. His life had become a set of thresholds. Before his brother Levi died, and after. Before seminary, and after. Before prayer became silence, and after. Levi had loved hospital vending machines with a loyalty Ezra still found unreasonable. Near the end, when the doctors had begun answering questions by looking at shoes, Levi made Ezra promise not to let anyone pray in the voice people used for funerals before the funeral had happened. Ezra had promised. Then he had prayed anyway, bargaining through dry lips while Levi's hand cooled inside his own. And afterward he could never decide whether the betrayal had been the prayer or the bargain. So he kept the seminary photograph face down. He kept the prayer book open and unread. He kept God at a distance close enough to accuse and too far away to obey. He pressed his thumb against the band.
Status.
The device chimed. Neural interface. Online. Last sync. 307. Pending system alerts. 1. Ezra stopped with one hand on the kettle.
1. Source.
Source. VERITAS. Firmware QAQ. Ethics review priority. Automated escalation. Of course. Automated escalation meant the filter had found something that could reach patients if nobody stopped it. He set the kettle down without filling it.
Open it.
A window unfolded in the dim kitchen air. Subject: Lexicon anomaly. Signed: medical build. From: QA-bot/Veritas. 2. Ethics review at Veritas. Ezra.Kane at Veritas. Flag: non-standard, non-medical phrase detected in cognitive pattern library. String: we are the Nephilim. For one clean second, the headache disappeared. Then it came back harder.
No.
The word fell flat in the kitchen. Plainly, a phrase from Genesis had been placed where the device shaped suggestions near a patient's will. He enlarged the alert. Component: Adaptive Suggestion Lexicon. Language Priming. Deployment Path: Medical Beta Cohort. Partner Validation. Manifest Status: Compiled into Signed Runtime Bundle. Author: Unresolved Nephilim. Genesis 6. Giants, fallen ones, men of name. A theological sinkhole deep enough to swallow patience. Ezra had spent years learning why careless people loved that word. It gave ambition a mythic costume. It let hunger call itself destiny. The old supernatural vocabulary was harder to flatten into metaphor than modern readers like to admit. Divine counsel, rebellion, powers that were not decorative and not safe, because the modern habit had learned to be embarrassed by them. The word pulled up an old classroom, a narrow seminary hall, Father Dumont striking a tuning fork against the desk until the whole room felt the note in its teeth. In the beginning was the Word, the old man had said, and the Word has never stopped moving. The world will call it vibration, a field, an energy. Do not be impressed by the smaller names. It is only creation still answering the one who spoke it. Then he set the fork down and turned to the board. The Nephilim were not monsters because they were strong. They were monsters because they had power without proportion. Giant ability, infant wisdom. That is the real fall. Not from heaven, but from balance. Ezra had rolled his eyes at the theatrics and written a clever essay that missed the point entirely. He understood it better now, with the word sitting in code bound for human nerve tissue. Power without proportion was never only a story about giants. It was a story about anyone who could build faster than he could be trusted to. The old sin, his teacher used to say, was knowledge severed from obedience. Gift made into technique, technique made into permission. Knowledge puffeth up, but charity edifieth, the old man had quoted from 1 Corinthians. Ezra had argued with him every time, and the old man had never raised his voice and never lost the argument. And now the thing sat inside a firmware build designed to help machines suggest thoughts near the edge of human will. He scrolled into the pattern record. Source: Voss archive display. Text: We are the Nephilim. Influence: high. Patient gate: active. In plain terms, when a patient's neural interface needed to fill in a thought too fast for the patient to form one on her own, this lexicon offered candidate words. The phrase had been given high weight. If a patient hesitated, it would be the first answer the machine reached for. Patient gate active meant the offering was already deployed in the field.
Inherited from what?
The system offered no answer. He poured water into the kettle, overshot the fill line, and muttered something he did not finish. Tea could wait. High influence meant the phrase was not sitting harmlessly in a file. Active gate meant a patient could meet it before anyone explained what it was. He pulled the safety manifest into view. The disclosures were there. The medical justification was there. The usable pause was not. The build did not command anyone. VERITAS lawyers would love that distinction. It simply made one response easier than another through a device millions of people were learning to trust because the alternative was tremor, seizure, panic, fog, or pain. Ezra had spent enough time in ethics review to know that merely was where the bodies were buried. Every release of the lace came back more capable and harder to read. 2 years ago, his team could still explain why the system reached for a given thought. Now, they shipped builds whose behavior they could only narrate after the fact, the way you narrate weather. Capability had outrun the people meant to govern it, and the company had decided that was acceptable as long as the curve kept climbing. He opened the commit history. The anomaly had entered yesterday through a compressed merge path. No readable author, no ordinary branch, an internal service account used for legacy migrations, right in the middle of his review meeting on abuse pathways, where he had been telling a vice president every adaptive build needed a fail-safe pause. Someone had been removing one. His teacher's old warning came back with procedural force. Do not admire force because it sings. Ezra tapped the band again.
Call Malik, on-call channel.
DevOps is outside business hours. Route to on-call?
Yes.
The line rang 3 times.
If this is about the consent flag again,
Malik said, voice thick with sleep.
I'm going to mail you a printed copy of the escalation policy and a very small violin.
It's not the consent flag. Adaptive Suggestion Lexicon. Voss Archive. High influence. Patient gate active. No usable pause.
Sheets rustled. Malik was awake now.
Say the middle part again.
No interrupt window.
I meant the pattern ID.
73A9. NEP.
What is the phrase?
Ezra looked at the glowing words.
We are the Nephilim.
Silence filled the connection.
That had better be a prank.
Ezra said.
Nobody pranks partner validation. Malik.
Right, sorry, I'm opening it.
Ezra heard the shift in him, sleep burning off into discipline. Malik was the only DevOps lead who did not treat ethics review as a break installed by cowards.
I see the alert. I do not like this.
Then we agree.
It came through a migration service account.
That account should not touch patient gate logic.
It didn't, not directly. It touched an old restricted branch, and that branch slipped into language priming after last week's merge.
Ezra closed his eyes.
Old restricted branch?
Malik hesitated, navigating his own permissions.
I can see the label, not the contents.
Read it.
Voss Archive. Human subject restricted.
The apartment seemed to lose heat. Ezra knew the name. Everyone in VERITAS Ethics knew the name, though nobody said it in meetings unless counsel was present. Dr. Silas Voss had been brilliant, unmanageable, and officially dead after an overseas research accident tied to the earliest neural lace trials. The death file had always been thinner than the lawsuits around it. Santos warehouse, dental validation, no body released to family. Counsel treated questions about it as a contagion. The old staff stories never agreed on whether he was a saint or a catastrophe. They agreed on smaller things. He sat on the floor when beds frightened children, drew boxes around patient names before he spoke to parents, and remembered which child hated the blue adhesive. One archived pediatric memo still circulated in ethics. If Arturo fights the censor, change the censor. Do not score fear as non-compliance. Beneath that, in darker ink, Voss had written, a child should not have to understand the machine before the machine stops hurting him. His old thresholds were supposed to be locked away.
That archive is supposed to be sealed.
It was, or it was labeled sealed. Those are not always the same thing.
Sandbox it. No network bridge, no partner validation, no telemetry backflow.
Already spinning one up.
Ezra opened the branch metadata again and saw only blanks where names should have been.
I need the raw commit metadata, not the dashboard or compliance export. Who signed, what service touched it, what token authorized the merge?
If the archive is restricted, asking for that pings security.
If we do nothing, this goes into medical beta in 2 weeks.
I didn't say no.
Keys clattered faintly across the line.
There is something else.
Tell me.
External match. QA note says the phrase appeared in one encrypted Ariston sequence file in the last 48 hours.
Ezra knew the Ariston lab by reputation. He had also, 2 years earlier, signed off on custody questions routed through a half-dead VERITAS relay used by an anthropologist named Tessa.
I saw it. Do you know what that is?
Not a listed partner. The path is wrong. Forensic feed, side-mounted onto the anomaly scanner, like somebody got impatient with the architecture. Someone inside VERITAS wanted the scanner to compare firmware against genetic data.
Malik dodged the word genetic 3 different ways before Ezra forced the plain version.
Your Genesis phrase just matched an ancient DNA file outside any partner path.
That is not better. Send me your blessing in writing, Father.
The joke hit wrong.
Don't call me that.
I know. Bad reflex.
Ezra rubbed the bridge of his nose.
Send the metadata to my cold mailbox and your off-site escrow. If anything locks you out, stop touching it.
And if anything locks you out?
Then pretend we never had this conversation until someone with a badge asks the wrong question.
The line clicked as Malik began routing the dump. Ezra stood in the kitchen with the kettle forgotten and the city breathing beyond the glass. He had not spent most of his adult life preaching. That would have required certainty, and certainty had left early. He had spent 3 years in seminary learning languages, doctrine, and moral theology, then carried the residue into machine ethics. 3 weeks after Levi died, Ezra walked away from the ordination track and did not go back. He did not renounce God. That would have been clean. He simply stopped trusting anyone who claimed to know what God had meant. He had chosen instead to believe in human responsibility. It was a smaller thing than faith, but it was something he could hold and act on. People did not need help imagining monsters. They managed that without assistance. They needed help imagining responsibility, because as far as Ezra could tell, no one else was lining up to take it. And now, a dead researcher's sealed archive had placed a sacred word inside firmware close enough to influence a human hand. Ezra reopened the deployment calendar. Red blocks filled the next month. Medical beta cohort activation, 14 days. Partner validation, active. Estimated downstream devices after release, 3.8 million. 3.8 million devices if the partner release passed validation. Some would be external bands, sleep patches, seizure monitors, focus laces, prosthetic bridges. Medically, the distinctions were real. Ethically, they narrowed fast. If a machine could learn the shape of a person's hesitation, it could learn how to erase it. His headache sharpened until the kitchen tilted. The band pulsed against his temple. Incoming file, Malik raw meta partial. The first packet opened before Ezra touched it. Most of the commit chain was encrypted or redacted by internal privilege walls. A few fragments remained visible. Source, Voss archive, human subject restricted. Approval, legacy service account. External match, Ariston. Sequence, NEP001, phrase verified. Note, compatible pattern, NEP001. The kitchen light flickered once. Ezra had not turned it on. He looked up toward the hallway beyond his apartment door. A shadow moved under the crack. Then someone knocked softly. Nobody knocked at 4 a.m. unless something had gone wrong. His neighbor across the hall sometimes confused the floors when her blood sugar dipped. This knock was not hers. 3 measured taps. Patient. Certain. Ezra crossed the apartment without turning on a light. His floorboards knew him and stayed quiet. At the door, he looked through the peephole. A woman in a slate-gray blazer stood in the hall, with her hands visible and her weight balanced over both feet. She was not a neighbor, and not police unless police had learned stillness from older institutions and left warrants to other people. Her dark hair was pulled back in a simple knot. At her throat, half hidden by the collar, hung a small silver medallion worn smooth by fingers. She looked directly at the peephole.
Dr. Kane, I know you're awake.
Ezra did not answer.
We need to talk about your firmware anomaly.
Every muscle in his body tightened. He had told Malik. Nobody else.
Who are you?
He said.
Ortega.
A surname tells me nothing.
It is the one you get through a door.
Ezra kept one hand near the deadbolt and one near the emergency call gesture on his band.
If VERITAS sent you, tell them I haven't finished my review.
VERITAS did not send me.
That is not comforting.
It should not be.
Then who did?
Ezra said.
People who noticed the same leak.
Then you are not VERITAS.
The leak is.
She glanced once down the hallway, not nervously, professionally.
Your anomaly is not confined to firmware. The same phrase appeared in an Ariston Lab sequence file tagged NEP001 within the last 48 hours.
Ezra's breath caught. On his kitchen counter, the partial metadata still glowed in the air where Malik had sent it.
How do you know that?
Because VERITAS was never as private as it thought,
She said.
That is a sentence people use when they want trust before evidence.
Open the door before Voss's people learn Malik helped you. The evidence is already moving.
Ezra went still. Ortega's expression did not change.
You asked him for raw commit metadata. That may keep people alive. It may also get him noticed.
You have 30 seconds to give me a better reason.
Ezra said.
Medical code, a dead doctor's archive, and a skull file. One path.
Ezra looked back toward the kitchen. NEP001. Voss archive. No interrupt window. His headache had become a bell struck inside bone.
Dr. Kane?
Ortega said, quieter now.
If that build reaches beta untouched, it will not be the first experiment.
That did it. Ezra unlocked the deadbolt and opened the door as far as the chain allowed. Ortega held his gaze.
Come in,
He said.
but you are making the second pot of tea. And you are going to explain... No, start with why you know Malik's name.
Tessa Navarre flagged him to us 6 weeks ago. He matched a pattern of DevOps leads who answer ethics calls before they call legal. There are not many of you.
He slipped the chain free. Ortega stepped inside, and the hallway seemed to close behind her like a sealed file. Somewhere over the Pacific coast of Peru, the cargo plane shifted in its airspeed, and Iris's stomach lifted with it. She did not move. The woman in the navy coat had been watching her for the last half hour to see if she would, and Iris had decided 3 hours back that she would not give the woman the satisfaction of a flinch the woman could measure. She counted what was still hers. A cracker in her sweatshirt pocket. The right lace tied. The word she had made the woman take back. Van had become car. 3 things. The hum was still there under the plane, older than the engines, closer to her teeth than the air. Her grandmother had said once that the hum sounded the same in every basement in the world because the ground was always praising God, and the only difference between basements was how much the people upstairs had spilled on the floor. Iris did not know if her grandmother had been right. She knew the hum had been there before Voss was, and that meant it had been there before the doctors had given the hum new names she had to learn to be afraid of. She closed her eyes and let the hum be older than the new names. For one breath, it sounded almost like singing. Then the plane corrected its angle, and the woman in the navy coat looked at her again, and Iris went back to counting exits. Chapter 4. The Sub-Basement. The sub-basement air tasted of dust, cold metal, and old decisions nobody had wanted to finish. Lena pushed through first, phone held low so the beam stayed under the security cameras. Behind her, Matt dragged the small, wheeled transport case with both hands. The case rattled once on the threshold, and both of them froze. Above them, somewhere past the stairwell in the lab floor, a door slammed. Matt eased the case over the lip. Inside it, strapped under foam and thermal wrap, was the first skull. NEP-001, the Paracas specimen Tessa had sent 3 weeks earlier. Matt had grabbed it from the clean cabinet while Lena took the hard drive and drilled sample. For once, his panic had helped.
I hate this case,
he whispered.
I hate that I am touching this case. I hate that this case now feels important to me.
Keep it quiet.
I know.
Lena shot him a look, but it did not have much force. Her own hands were shaking. Concrete corridors ran in 3 directions beneath the building. Exposed pipes crawled overhead. Somewhere beyond the walls, refrigeration compressors cycled unevenly, turning the dark into something that seemed to breathe. The sub-basement barely appeared on staff maps. It held old freezers, skeletal reference material, failed grant purchases, and boxes of human remains caught between research value, repatriation law, and institutional embarrassment. Where the dead keep their secrets. Tessa had written that line. Lena had told her not to romanticize the work. Tessa had said the work would romanticize itself if no one was watching. Tessa had been Lena's father's last graduate student before the cancer, and Lena's first friend after. Lena pulled the folded slip from her coat pocket. She had torn it open in the stairwell, but now, under the cold phone light, she saw what fear and motion had hidden. The paper was double-layered. She peeled the top sheet back and found a second card sealed underneath. B12, 0419. If VERITAS comes, do not surrender either specimen. Trust evidence before institutions. Trust humility before certainty. TN. Matt read over her shoulder.
Tessa planned for something like this,
Matt said.
She committed to keeping us alive.
Lena said.
Those can both be true,
Matt said. Lena turned the card over. A thin sticker clung to the back, the sort used in old equipment cabinets before the university upgraded to badge readers. The printed code matched the card. B12, 0419. The line read like an instruction.
B12 is a room,
Lena said.
A buried archive under the lab,
Matt said. They moved. The corridor bent past maintenance lockers and a chained cage of obsolete servers. Lena counted door numbers as they passed. B06, B08, mechanical. The phone vibrated in her hand. Keep moving. Lab terminal accessed. 2 men entering service stairs. Lena nearly dropped the phone. The voice read like Calder. The rhythm of keep moving sounded more like Tessa, which only meant Lena was tired enough to start hearing dead women on text.
Text only,
she said when Matt looked over. They reached a sign so old the letters had yellowed under plastic. Archival Storage B, restricted. Below it, a newer placard had been bolted crookedly to the wall. Human remains, legacy holdings, access by custodian only. Lena stopped.
I am the custodian,
she said.
On paper. When I took over the ancient DNA unit, the university moved the unreconciled skeletal collection under my compliance portfolio. I thought it meant audit responsibility, not secret skull drawers.
Another thud carried through the stairwell wall. Closer. Lena tried the main badge reader. Red. Of course. Her university access recognized her as custodian in reports and liability paperwork, but not at doors that mattered. She turned to the old secondary reader below it. A dust line showed where most people had forgotten it existed. The slot was narrow, mechanical, and ugly. Tessa had not forgotten.
0419,
Lena said.
April 2019.
What happened in April 2019?
Matt asked.
Tessa did a repatriation survey here before I joined the department. She mentioned it once, said the university had a basement full of boxes nobody wanted to own.
Lena peeled the sticker from the card and pressed it over the lower corner of the old reader. Nothing happened. Matt stared down the hallway. The reader clicked. Inside the door, old hardware turned with a reluctant grind. The light above the frame flashed amber, then green. Matt's expression changed.
Tessa definitely knew this day was coming,
Matt said.
Or she knew one like it might,
Lena said. Lena opened the door, and cold air spilled over them. Archival storage B12 looked less like a room than a memory built from stainless steel. Cabinets lined 3 walls. Some were modern, gasketed and barcoded. Others were older, with paper labels browning beneath strips of tape. A rolling ladder ran along a ceiling track. The refrigeration unit in the far corner vibrated through the floor in a low, uneven note that Lena felt in her knees. The note was wavelength. Matter doing what matter did under the second law of thermodynamics. Dissipating, settling, returning what had been put into it. Her father had thought matter did one more thing as well, and had quoted Paul at her once. The whole creation groaneth and travaileth in pain together until now. She had told him that was an excellent description of graduate school. Matt pulled the NEP-001 transport case inside and shut the door softly behind him. Lena swept the flashlight across the cabinet labels. B12-0380, B12-0402, B12-0416. She found the drawer on the far wall at shoulder height. B12-0419. The label beneath the number had been half scraped away. Under the residue, faint type remained. Paracas. Unverified. Hold pending review. Lena touched the handle but did not pull. Her training asserted itself through the panic. Document first, disturb last. She raised the phone and photographed the drawer, label, room number, and access card. Matt was already watching the door.
Then you get 15 seconds and we run,
Matt said.
30 seconds.
Lena said.
You get 15,
Matt said. She pulled, and the drawer slid open with a soft metal sigh. At first, the beam caught only white cloth. Then the cloth shifted in the air from the refrigeration unit, and bone appeared beneath it. Another skull. This skull was smaller than the first, more weathered-looking in a way that had nothing to do with color. Fine cracks crossed the left parietal bone. The cranial vault was elongated, but not by the flattening or banding she knew from cultural modification. The sutures held a strange tension, as if the skull had grown around pressure from within rather than force from without. A tag lay beside it. Ariston Repository, Legacy Hold, Object ID NEP-000, Origin, Paracas Region, Peru. Status, Do Not Catalog, Do Not Digitize, Custodial Review Only. Lena read the tag twice.
NEP-000.
0,
Matt said.
Not the skull Tessa sent.
Lena said.
NEP-001 was first in our hands. This is earlier, hidden here before tonight.
And Ariston Repository?
Matt asked.
Legacy holdings under my unit. Not a secret library. Not my consent.
So we have Skull 1 in the case and Skull 0 in the basement archive.
Do not call it that.
Lena said.
I can remember 1 and 0.
Formal labels stay on the evidence.
Lena said.
When we are running, it is Skull 1 and Skull 0.
Beside NEP-000 rested a narrow vial clipped into foam, sealed and labeled in Tessa's tight handwriting. NEP-000, retained powder. Compare only if NEP-001 activates external interest. Lena's throat tightened. Tessa had not merely known this drawer existed. She had expected someone to come for the first skull. The phone buzzed again. Do not trust anyone claiming VERITAS authority. A second message followed so fast it seemed part of the same breath. Simple map for the next 10 minutes. VERITAS is the company door. Voss's people came through it. Someone else is trying to keep it shut. Lena looked from the message header to the emergency panel, then back toward the corridor.
Someone staged the old account before tonight,
She said. Matt's face changed.
So not a miracle.
Matt said.
An old administrator account with better timing than ethics. Tessa's kind of tripwire, if I am guessing. Not a rescue plan.
The sender field stayed blank. Not hidden. Blank. The way Tessa's old field messages had been blank when she wanted a warning to travel without carrying her name. Matt read it and looked at Lena.
Please say you know who Voss is.
No.
Lena said.
I was afraid of that.
Calder said VERITAS was a research initiative. Tessa warned me about anyone reaching for the sample under the word Nephilim. Calder did both. Now someone inside VERITAS is moving faster than he can control.
Lena pulled a clean evidence drape from the wall dispenser and laid it beside the drawer. Her mind tried to split in two. One part wanted to sequence, compare, photograph, understand. The other counted seconds by the muffled movement beyond the room. NEP-001 had come from Tessa as a formal museum loan, wrapped in ordinary paperwork and hidden urgency. NEP-000 had been waiting under Lena's own institutional custody, buried by a system that did not know what it held, or had been ordered not to know. It was a net tightening.
Matt, open your bag.
Lena said.
My bag is not rated for ancient remains.
The vial goes in the padded meter pouch.
Lena said.
The skull goes in the case with NEP-001.
Both in one case?
Matt asked.
Separated, wrapped, photographed.
Lena said.
It is safer than leaving one here.
Safer for us or safer for the skulls?
Matt asked.
Right now, those are the same question.
And legally?
Matt asked.
Legally,
Lena said.
every step we take from here becomes something someone can challenge later, so we make it challengeable in daylight.
He did not argue again. Lena snapped on nitrile gloves and lifted the vial first. She photographed its label, placed it in Matt's pouch, then turned back to the drawer. She had handled the dead before. She had taught undergraduates to do it, without superstition and without contempt. Bone was not a person, but it had belonged to one. Her father would have crossed himself. Lena did not. But she found herself lowering her voice anyway.
I am sorry.
For taking it?
Matt asked.
For how long it has been here without a name.
Lena said. Matt's face changed. His fear did not leave, but it made room for something quieter.
Then let's not leave it for whoever is upstairs,
Matt said. Together, they lifted NEP-000 from the drawer. The skull weighed almost nothing. That made it worse. They set NEP-000 into the upper cradle of the transport case, wrapped in the clean drape and cushioned with foam dividers. NEP-001 remained below it, sealed in its original support. Lena wrote the labels in block letters on 2 strips of tape and fixed them where nobody could miss them. NEP-001, Tessa shipment, first skull. NEP-000, B-12-0419, second skull found in sub-basement. Matt watched her do it.
You are labeling for us or for future prosecutors?
Both.
Lena said.
One is Tessa's.
Lena said, pressing the first strip flat.
0 is Austin. If anyone says only numbers under stress, correct them.
Skull 1 and Skull 0,
Matt said.
Horrible names. Useful names.
Good. I hope someone reads it.
Lena said. The overhead light flickered, once, twice. Then the room dropped into emergency red. Matt's humor died. Outside the door, footsteps entered the corridor with them. Lena closed the transport case and latched it. The latch sounded too loud. Matt winced. On the other side of the wall, a man's voice spoke into a radio. The words blurred through the steel, but one came through clearly. B12. Lena's phone vibrated against her palm. Loading dock cameras are dark for 4 minutes. Service exit may not hold. Then, bring both skulls. The living one is already in motion. Matt stared at the screen.
Both skulls I understand now. That is bad enough. What is the living one?
I don't know,
Lena said.
Okay,
Matt said. The door handle moved, tested once, and held. Lena looked at the old room layout mounted beside the cabinets. She had ignored it on the way in, thinking only of the drawer. Now the faded plan resolved into exits, corridors, and one narrow service passage behind the refrigeration unit. It was an equipment crawlspace leading toward the loading dock mechanical room. Tessa had sent them to a room with more than one way out. That was not prophecy. It was field work done by a woman who distrusted locked rooms.
There.
Lena said.
There is a wall there,
Matt said.
Access panel.
Lena said.
Of course there is,
Matt said. He grabbed the transport case handle and pulled. The wheels stuck on the floor drain for one awful second, then came free. The door handle moved again. A badge reader chirped outside. Red. A laugh rose from terror and stopped in her throat. Whoever they were, they did not have Tessa's key. She shoved aside a rack of empty cryo boxes and found the panel release behind it. The metal stuck until Matt slammed his shoulder into the edge. The panel popped inward with a cough of dust. Cold air rushed from the crawlspace.
I am going in the crawlspace.
Go,
Lena said. She ducked through first, phone in her teeth, one hand on the wall. Matt shoved the case after her, then squeezed in behind it. The access panel swung half shut. Through the remaining crack, Lena saw the B12 door open. A man stepped inside, holding a compact flashlight low beside his weapon. Lena held her breath. His beam crossed the empty drawer. The tag beside B12-0419 stirred in the refrigeration draft. For the first time since the storm began, Lena felt the shape of the thing hunting them. It was not curiosity. It was retrieval. Matt touched her shoulder once, asking without words if they should move. Lena nodded. They dragged both skulls into the dark, toward the loading dock, and whatever the living one meant. 2,000 miles to the south, the cargo plane had landed at a Pisco fuel depot a little before midnight. Iris had not stayed on it long. A mechanic with rain on his eyelashes and a daughter of his own had crouched beside a service cart and shown her, with his chin, the gap under a green van bound for Paracas. He had used the word salida and not asked her permission, which made her trust him more, not less. She did not know yet what was at the end of the road. She knew only that the hum under the ground was lower here, and that her grandmother would have said, the lower the hum, the older the stone, and the older the stone, the longer it had been waiting to say something nobody upstairs had bothered to listen for. Iris had decided, somewhere over the Pacific, that pointing was not the same as wanting. Pointing was just what stone did when it was trying to say something nobody had taught her how to hear yet. She followed. Chapter 5. Iris. The cargo plane came down outside Pisco a little before midnight. Iris woke when the wheels struck the runway. Not all the way. She had learned to wake in pieces. Eyes still closed, hands still loose, breathing slow enough to make adults think she was easier than she was. The plane rattled over cracked concrete and stopped near a row of fuel tanks. Through the dirty oval window, she saw sodium lights, a chain-link fence, and the flat dark beyond it where the desert met the sea. Everything smelled of kerosene and salt. The woman in the navy coat unbuckled herself first.
"Stay asleep,"
the woman said. Iris kept her eyes shut.
"I know you are listening."
Iris did not answer. The woman made a small, tired sound, not anger, not kindness, something between them. Iris put it with the other adult sounds she had been collecting since Houston. Hurry, fear, blame, orders spoken too softly. The man across from her leaned into the aisle.
"The receiver is late."
"He is not late,"
the woman said.
"He is reconsidering."
"That is late."
Iris opened one eye. The woman saw it and looked away, as if looking directly at Iris cost her something.
"Where are we?"
Iris asked.
"Close,"
the woman said.
"Close to what?"
No one answered. That was how Iris knew the answer mattered. They took her down the narrow steps into the wind. Pisco at night was colder than Lima had been. The air lifted the hair at the back of her neck and pressed her sweatshirt against her arms. One shoe felt wrong because the lace was gone. The other lace was still tied, a white loop against the gray canvas. She wished the missing lace would come back by itself. She wished her father would come back by himself. She wished wishes worked like adults pretended they did. The note under the world moved again. Not music, not words. A pressure that made the bones around her ears feel too awake. It had pulled at her in Houston, harder in Mexico City, worst in Lima when the wrong van waited by the service door. Here it pointed past the fuel tanks, past the fence, toward the black line of cliffs she could not see but could somehow feel. She hated it. The woman in the navy coat held Iris by the wrist, not hard enough to bruise, hard enough to remind her that an adult hand was still an adult hand.
"You are going to meet another driver,"
the woman said.
"You will get in. You will sit down. You will not make this difficult."
What if I do?
The man behind them laughed once, and the laugh stopped when the woman looked at him.
"Do not,"
the woman said. They crossed toward a low service building with flaking white paint and a corrugated roof. Two mechanics stood under a floodlight beside a fuel hose. One pretended not to see them. The other watched Iris too long. He was old enough to have gray in his beard and young enough to look ashamed of it. The woman noticed.
"You,"
she called in Spanish.
"Where is the van?"
The bearded mechanic wiped his hands on a rag.
"Which van?"
"Do not be stupid."
"Many vans come through here."
The man behind Iris stepped forward.
"The medical van."
"No medical van."
The woman tightened her grip on Iris's wrist. Iris knew grown-ups could lie with their faces. The mechanic was not lying with his. He was scared, and scared people either obeyed or made one brave mistake before they became scared again. A radio crackled inside the service building. Someone said a name Iris did not know. Someone else answered too sharply for the words to land. The woman turned her head for half a second. Iris pulled. The woman had expected her to run backward toward the plane. Iris ran sideways instead, under the fuel hose, past the mechanic's hip, into the shadow of a parked maintenance truck. Her loose shoe slapped concrete. The woman shouted. The man made a sound he did not finish and came after her. Iris ducked behind stacked plastic crates.
"Do not touch the tanks,"
the mechanic shouted. That stopped the man for one precious second. Iris crawled between two pallets, scraped her elbow, and bit the inside of her cheek so she would not cry out. The taste of blood came bright and coppery. The note under the world pressed harder. Not there, not the open gate, not the road with the headlights. Under. She looked down and saw a narrow space beneath a canvas-covered service cart, too small for an adult, maybe too small for a child with a wrong-shaped head if she moved badly. Iris moved carefully. Her forehead struck the metal frame. Pain flashed white. She swallowed the sound and pushed herself flat beneath the cart while boots passed inches from her face.
Find her,
the woman said.
She cannot leave the depot,
the man said.
You lost her once already.
That was Lima.
And now?
Silence. The bearded mechanic walked past the cart. His boots stopped. Iris saw the rag hanging from his back pocket, dark with grease. His hand lowered a few inches, not pointing, not reaching. He had seen her. Iris held her breath. The mechanic looked away.
Storage shed,
he said loudly.
Children hide in storage.
The man ran toward the shed. The mechanic crouched beside the cart and pretended to check a wheel.
Little one.
He whispered in English so rough it almost broke.
When I push, you stay. When I stop, you go under the green van. No sound.
Iris stared at him.
Why?
His eyes flicked toward the woman, then back to Iris.
Because I have a daughter.
The answer was too simple. Iris did not trust simple answers anymore. But the note under the world pressed toward the green van, and the mechanic's hand was shaking. The cart moved. Iris moved with it. The canvas smelled of oil and dust. The metal edge bumped her shoulder. Twice she nearly sneezed. She pressed her tongue to the roof of her mouth the way her father had taught her when she got nosebleeds. The mechanic stopped near a green service van with a dented side panel and a ladder bolted to the roof.
Now,
he whispered. Iris rolled under the van. The ground was colder there. Gravel dug into her palms. She could see the woman's shoes near the service building and the man's boots by the shed. The mechanic stood between them and Iris, wiping the same part of the van with the same rag, making himself useless on purpose. The woman called something in Spanish. The mechanic answered, too fast for Iris to understand. Another worker opened the back of the green van and began loading canvas bags, toolboxes, and a crate of bottled water. Iris watched his ankles. He did not look under the van. Each time he turned for another bag, the canvas pile behind him grew. Iris waited until the wall of cloth was tall enough to hide a small shape, slid out from under the van on the side away from his feet, and climbed up behind the bags before the loader came back with the last toolbox. She lay flat. The canvas pressed her down. The loader stacked the toolbox on top of the bags, slammed the door, and walked away. The latch clicked. Darkness folded around her. When the driver climbed into the front seat, the whole van sagged. For a moment, she almost called out. The air inside the van was thick with rubber, rope, old sweat, and diesel. Canvas bags pressed against her ribs. A toolbox handle dug into her knee. She thought of the black van in Lima and the way the woman had said, "Stay asleep." Then the engine started. The woman shouted outside. The van did not stop. Iris found the broken packet of crackers in her sweatshirt pocket. Most of them were crumbs now. She put one piece on her tongue and let it soften there, because chewing made too much noise. The driver spoke to someone through the front window. A guard answered. The gate chain scraped. The van rolled forward. Iris counted because numbers were steadier than fear. 1 turn, 2 bumps, 3 breaths while the engine climbed, 4 seconds of headlights through the rear seam before darkness took them again. At 1:40 in the morning, though Iris did not know the time, the service van left the fuel depot and took the road toward Paracas. She lay between canvas bags and a toolbox that smelled of oil. 1 shoe tied, 1 lace gone, the last whole cracker unbroken in her pocket. The note under the road did not comfort her. It only kept pointing. She hated it. She followed anyway. Chapter 6. The Visitor. By the time Iris was running from the rain outside the Lima terminal, the same night had already found Ezra's apartment. Ezra shut the door behind Ortega and threw the deadbolt. The deadbolt sounded thin. Ortega noticed the look he gave it.
It will slow down a neighbor, not a team.
I understand.
You asked for explanations, not comfort.
She did not sit. She moved through the apartment once, fast and quiet, checking window sightlines, the hall-facing wall, the kitchen entrance, the dark reflection in the balcony glass. Her eyes paused on the face-down seminary photograph, but did not linger. Then she turned back to him.
Show me the anomaly.
You already know about it.
I know enough to knock. I want to see what you saw before your system starts editing itself.
Ezra considered refusing on principle. Then his neural band pulsed. Incoming file. Malik. Raw meta. Partial. Addendum. Warning. Access token revoked. The addendum opened. Sandbox result. Active pattern called by adaptive suggestion layer. Legacy ref. Voss archive. Human subject restricted. Merge token. Inherited service approval. Downstream path. Partner validation. Medical beta note from Malik. I am locked out. You did not get this from me. Ezra's stomach tightened.
Malik found the same branch?
Ezra asked.
You are going to stop saying things you should not know.
Normal is how this walked itself into beta.
Ezra brought the console into the room between them. The firmware entry hovered in pale light. Restricted branch. Voss archive. Inherited. Approval. Display text. We are the Nephilim. Ranking weight. High. Gate. Active. Approval source. Inherited. Interrupt window. None. Recorded. Ortega's expression did not change, but one hand touched the silver medallion at her throat.
None recorded.
Ezra noticed because grief trained people to notice the wrong pauses. The silver was worn nearly smooth, the raised hand at its center rubbed thin by years of touch.
Prayer habit?
He asked.
Field habit.
That leaves out the part you do not want to say.
For the first time, her eyes left the firmware line.
A boy I knew once heard a holy voice where a machine found a door. I learned to touch metal before I opened rooms after that.
Then she looked back at the overlay.
No patient-usable pause. In a live device, the nudge lands before the patient can register the nudge.
Can it command them?
Ezra asked.
Not the way people mean when they say command.
The way lawyers mean?
Ezra asked.
Oh, Lord.
Ortega said.
The way victims mean?
Ezra asked. That stopped him. He looked at the floating line again.
It can lean. Nudge. No, lean is better.
Ortega said.
Operational meaning.
The band reads state and context, then proposes interventions. Calm down. Focus. Call your doctor. Don't stand yet. Breathe.
So not a gun to the head.
A hand at the elbow on a cliff.
Ortega nodded once, as if filing the phrase.
That is why they wanted Voss's archive. They?
Ezra asked. Ortega opened the black case she had carried inside. A tablet, a folded signal sleeve, printed pages, and a burner phone. She put the tablet on the kitchen counter and turned it toward him, an implant credential still accepting commands, a clinic transfer order altered twice, and a dead researcher's archive signing new files. Ezra read it once. Once was enough. The board did not explain the world. It made the exits smaller. Ezra set the tablet down because he was gripping it too hard.
Veritas and Voss. Plain version.
3 names that matter tonight.
Ortega's hand stayed near the silver at her throat.
VERITAS is the building. Calder Vance founded it and is now arguing with the men who outgrew him. Silas Voss is the doctor inside it who stopped asking. Declared dead overseas. Walking. Other names can wait. Your people have a name?
Ezra asked.
Just gave you one. The rest of it does not help you in the next 10 minutes.
That is convenient.
It is restrained. We do not take custody because a medal says so. We preserve witnesses, block doors, and keep evidence alive until lawful people can catch up.
That sounded rehearsed.
It gets used.
Ezra pointed at the second box.
And the altered transfer?
Ezra asked.
Someone using old religious language inside newer systems. Voss decided waiting was a sin.
The sentence was worse for being simple.
Silas Voss was declared dead after early neural lace trials.
Officially.
You are very attached to that word.
It gets work done. The file was thin.
Ortega said.
Enough paper for counsel, not enough for truth.
She swiped to the next file. A low-resolution photo filled the screen. Voss, in a lab coat, face thin and intent, a black mourning ribbon beside his hospital badge. Behind him, a child stood half-turned away.
Mourning ribbon?
Ezra asked.
His wife. Progressive neural failure. VERITAS funded his late-stage work after that.
Ortega said.
Then grief opened the door.
It became the door he stopped closing.
In the photograph, Voss's left hand rested near the ribbon without quite touching it. For one unbeautiful second, Ezra saw a husband before he saw the doctrine that had grown over him. Ortega pulled up a second image, a lab notebook page photographed at an angle. Voss had written patient names in block capitals down the margin. Beside each name sat a number, a symptom, and a tiny hand-drawn square. A yellow note had been taped over one corner. Consent renewal accepted 12 sec after panic suppression. Patient denies memory of signing.
He boxed the living names?
Ezra asked.
He said it helped him keep cases separate. That is the version he could defend.
It became counting.
Ezra leaned closer despite himself. Under the boxes, Voss had written smaller notes in a physician's cramped hand. No restraints if verbal cue works. Mother sings before tremor. Arturo says blue patch burns. Change adhesive. Do not call behavioral. Miriam was kept small and safe to the end. Careful, proportionate, inside every limit. Safe is where medicine failed my wife. Do not let board call non-response failure. The last line had been underlined so hard the paper tore.
He was not always pretending.
No, that made him harder to stop.
Somewhere south of Pisco, the service van slowed for a checkpoint Iris could not see. The driver said something in Spanish, sharp. Another voice answered. The exchange was not the kind that ended in violence. It was the kind that ended in money. Iris pressed herself flat between two canvas bags and stopped breathing for the count of 12. Then the van rolled forward again, and the bags settled around her, and the hum under the road shifted into a slightly different key. She did not know what the new key meant. She knew that it meant they were closer to whatever the road was pointing at. She put her cheek against the floor of the van and let the metal carry the note up into her teeth. Her grandmother had said that the stones knew where God had put them, and that the older the stone, the more carefully it remembered. Iris was not sure whether she believed her grandmother about that part. She had decided to believe her about the part where stones were not the enemy. That was enough for one night. The van climbed a low rise. The hum deepened. Iris did not sleep. On the ridge above the Paracas cliffline, Silas Voss did not raise his voice when the boy began to cry. The clinic camera gave him from above, narrow shoulders under a white coat, head bent, one hand resting on the bed rail instead of the child. He waited until the tremor in the boy's left hand spread to the wrist, then to the elbow. He did not look hurried. That was the worst part. Hurry would have made him seem afraid.
"Arturo," he said, "look at me."
The boy tried. His eyes skated past Voss's face and fixed on the blue adhesive patch behind the doctor's ear.
"It burns,"
the boy whispered. Voss reached into the tray, removed the patch from Arturo's temple, and set it aside.
"Then we do not use blue."
A nurse behind him shifted.
"Doctor, you are past the safe band."
"He is in panic cascade."
"Protocol holds the output inside the safe band."
Voss looked at her then. Not angry. Worse. Disappointed by the poverty of the sentence.
"The board has never watched a child drown inside the safe band."
Arturo's mother stood in the corner with both hands over her mouth. Voss softened his voice for her.
"I can keep him careful and proportionate while the seizure takes the rest of him. Or I can give him more than the limit allows and give him back to you."
The nurse did not move. On the monitor, the load climbed toward the red line. Voss picked up a black patch instead of the blue one.
"A limit is not mercy."
Then he placed it against the boy's skin. In a second monitor window, muted and quarter-sized, the Austin corridor feed showed a woman and a man crossing red light with a transport case between them. Voss did not look up until the black patch settled against Arturo's skin, and the tremor began to slow.
"Let them run."
The nurse followed his glance to the corridor feed.
"Doctor."
"They have the specimens and no map. Fear finds old roads faster than search teams do."
Who is the child?
Ezra asked.
Someone we are trying to reach before his people do.
The living one.
That is what the ancestry men call her.
And what do you call her?
Ezra asked.
A child.
For the first time since she entered, her control strained at the edges. In the blurred photo, the child behind Voss had one sock folded down around her ankle and one pulled all the way to the knee. Ezra saw Ortega notice it too, and let the next question sit unsaid.
3 hours ago, Dr. Lena Ariston's lab was breached.
Another swipe. A building schematic. Austin, University District. Access points lit in red.
Ariston runs the ancient DNA unit. Tessa Navarre sent her a Paracas skull, cataloged NEP-001. The sample produced a genetic result that should not exist. Your firmware anomaly cross-referenced against that sequence before Ariston even knew the cross-reference existed.
How does code cross-reference a skull?
Ezra asked.
Through a table someone hid where no ethics reviewer would look.
Plain English.
Your Genesis phrase in firmware matched Lena's skull file. When those records touched, Voss's old branch woke up.
You sound like them.
No, they think naming it gives them rights over it.
She slid the printed packet toward him. Ezra did not touch it.
Read the top page.
You carry printed leaks in a world with encryption?
Ezra asked.
Paper does not phone home.
He took the packet. The first page was stamped, Veritas Internal, Legacy Hold, Restricted. Activation thresholds in candidate NEP-compatible neural architectures may be stabilized through paired resonance stimuli and adaptive interface feedback. Subject compliance improves when moral hesitation is classified as noise. Negative response patterns may be retained as maps for subsequent bypass. Ezra read the last sentence again, then looked back at the yellow note.
Oh, Lord.
Yes.
12 seconds.
Long enough for a signature.
And short enough to steal the no.
Say that again later, preferably to someone who can testify.
Ortega said. Ezra turned the page. A diagram showed a feedback loop. Marker, stimulus, interface, compliance, escalation. In the margin, someone had written in red, Missing safeguard. Voluntary pause. The handwriting was not Voss's.
Who wrote this?
We think Calder Vance.
The man who called Ariston?
The same man.
Is he with Voss?
He founded VERITAS, funded too much, then became a problem for the men using his money.
That does not tell me what he is doing tonight.
Trying to lock rooms he helped build.
Convenient time to grow a conscience.
Do not admire the timing. But the rooms close faster with him than against him. We use him until he stops being useful, and we do not turn our backs.
Ezra tapped the board with 2 fingers.
And you?
Ezra asked. Ortega's thumb brushed the silver medallion at her throat.
I stand in the way when I can,
Ortega said. The tablet chimed softly. Ortega checked it. Her jaw tightened.
What?
Ezra asked.
Ariston and her assistant reached the sub-basement,
Ortega said.
Assistant?
Ezra asked.
Matt Lee, geneticist, carries field audio hardware like it is lab equipment,
Ortega said.
That seems oddly specific,
Ezra said.
Tonight, oddly specific keeps people alive.
She turned the tablet again. The image came from a low corridor camera, red emergency light. A woman with dark hair pulled back tight, face tense with concentration. A man beside her hauling a transport case by the handle. Lena Ariston was not running wildly. She moved like someone measuring risk while fear chased her. Ezra caught himself studying her hands. One hand on the case, one hand near her coat pocket, protecting evidence, not herself. The frame advanced. 2 armed men entered the corridor behind them.
Are those Veritas security?
Ezra asked.
Badges say VERITAS. Movement says Voss. Fast, disposable, not worried about courts,
Ortega said.
That distinction will matter in court, assuming anyone survives long enough for court,
Ezra said.
Now you understand why I wanted definitions,
Ortega said. Ezra looked at the screen, then at his own firmware console. Code. Bone. A child. Father Dumont's tuning fork hummed somewhere in memory. Do not admire force because it sings. The old man had taught it plainly. The Nephilim were never remembered as monsters because they were strong. They were remembered as warnings. Power without proportion. Knowledge without the moral foundation to wield it. Giant ability. Infant wisdom.
What does "we are the Nephilim" mean to them?
Ezra asked.
To the people chasing it, proof that inheritance is authority.
Ortega said.
And to Voss?
A switch.
Ezra closed his eyes.
And to you?
Warning.
Keep it ugly.
Good?
If you had said destiny, I would have thrown you out.
No, you would not.
No, but I would have wanted to.
Her mouth moved toward a smile, then stopped. Another alert flashed across Ezra's band. System notice. Ethics review access suspended. Reason. Security quarantine. Then, remote wipe request queued. Ezra moved before thinking. He slapped the band controls with 2 fingers, killed the network bridge, and forced the console into local mode. The overlay flickered.
Can they wipe Malik's packet?
Not from cold storage.
Then start.
But they know I have it.
They assumed that when Malik went dark.
You said you were here before the wrong people learned Malik helped me.
I was optimistic by 12 minutes.
Pack what you need,
Ortega said.
Fast.
Ezra looked around the apartment. What he needed fit into a small bag. Laptop, charger, hard token, passport, medication, the printed packet. He hesitated at the bookshelf. The seminary photograph lay face down where it had been for 3 years. He left it there. Then he took Father Dumont's old Latin Vulgate from the shelf beside it. Ortega watched without comment.
Do not read symbolism into this,
Ezra said.
I would never,
Ortega said.
Lie,
Ezra said.
Yes.
Ortega said. He shoved the book into the bag.
If I help you, I do not become your asset,
Ezra said.
You remain a witness with legs,
Ortega said.
I do not help you bury evidence for anyone with a Latin motto and a budget.
Then you understand the trap. And the firmware?
Ortega asked.
You tell me,
Ezra said.
We freeze the partner validation path, preserve the metadata, isolate the Voss merge, and find out whether any beta devices already pulled the pattern.
He tapped the packet with one finger.
Sao Paulo logged 3 unexplained trigger events last month during a vendor update. Jakarta logged 1 motor control collapse after an external tone alarm. Both were closed as local failures. Can you do that while moving?
Ortega asked.
Poorly,
Ezra said.
Can you do it poorly enough to keep people alive?
Ortega asked.
Maybe,
Ezra said.
Then start walking,
Ortega said. She opened the apartment door and scanned the hallway. Ezra slung the bag over his shoulder. At the threshold, he looked back once at the kitchen, the untouched kettle, the half-lit room where his life had still been narrow enough to mistake for private. It was not private anymore. Maybe it never had been.
Where are we going?
Ezra asked.
Loading dock first. If Ariston and Lee make the service exit, we intercept before Voss's people do,
Ortega said.
And if they do not?
Ezra asked.
Then we follow the skulls,
Ortega said.
Both skulls,
Ezra said.
If Ariston has them,
Ortega said. Ezra stepped into the hallway. The headache pulsed again, bright and deep. This time, it had direction. Chapter 7. The Escape. Form is given to a growing organism by fields the genes do not contain. The genes are inherited, and so are the fields. After Rupert Sheldrake, A New Science of Life. Bioelectric patterns carry a blueprint of anatomical form, a control layer above the genome that can be edited to change what a body builds. Drawing on Michael Levin, The Bioelectric Code, Biosystems, 2018. The service passage was too narrow for running. Lena dragged the transport case by its side handle, shoulders scraping pipe insulation as she forced it through the dark. Matt pushed from behind with one hand and kept the other braced against the wall. The case wheels were useless on the raised metal grating. Every few feet, the whole thing lurched and threatened to twist out of her grip. Inside the case, Skull 1 rested in the lower cradle and Skull 0 in the upper. NEP-001 from Tessa, NEP-000 from Austin, separated by foam, labels, and every fragile line of custody Lena had managed while men searched the room behind them. Behind them, the B-12 door slammed open hard enough for the sound to travel through the ductwork. Matt flinched and shoved harder.
I take back every complaint I ever made about regular hallways.
Push,
Lena said. Matt put his shoulder into the case and saved his breath for shoving. Her phone vibrated in her coat pocket. She ignored it for 3 steps. Then it vibrated again. Lena wedged the case against her knee, pulled the phone free, and angled it under the dim maintenance light. Vance is inbound. Use the route he opens. Do not give him the case. Her mouth went dry. Whoever was sending these had Tessa's habit of giving instructions in the imperative, but Tessa was dead.
Vance from the phone call?
Matt asked.
Calder Vance.
The phone call Calder Vance? VERITAS Calder Vance?
That's him.
Inbound is bad. I am keeping that category.
So did Lena. The passage ended at a square access panel secured by a lever latch. Cold air pressed through the edges. Beyond it, she could hear rainwater in gutters and loading dock doors grinding. She pushed the latch. It did not move. Matt dropped to one knee beside her, breathing hard.
Please do not say maintenance issue.
It's stuck.
That is a maintenance issue.
Behind them, voices entered the passage. Lena put both hands on the lever and pulled until pain flashed through her wrist. Nothing. Then, from the other side, the panel handle turned. Matt stopped breathing. The panel swung open. A tall man in a dark raincoat crouched in the loading dock gloom, one hand raised, palm out.
Dr. Ariston.
Lena knew the voice before she let herself understand the face. Calder Vance. The man who had called her lab, known NEP-001 before he had any right to know it, and arrived tied to VERITAS. She yanked the case backward.
Move away from the opening.
Calder's raised hand did not drop. Rain ran from his cuff and struck the concrete between them.
If I move, the men behind you reach you first.
I hate that you are right.
Lena kept the case handle locked in her fist.
Who sent them?
Not me.
You expect that to be enough?
No.
His answer landed without rehearsal. He shifted aside, revealing the dock beyond him. A white SUV idled under the overhang with its lights off. Rain swept in sheets across the concrete apron. The loading dock cameras above the bay hung dark, their status lights dead.
Voss's people have VERITAS credentials and my old channels. My people are watched. My cars are watched. This is borrowed and less compromised.
Voss.
You saw the message. If he reaches Iris first, he gets my daughter.
The name hit harder than the rain.
Iris is yours?
She is.
The living one?
She is 12.
I saw a stranger's text.
Then trust the footsteps behind you,
Calder said. Light flared in the passage. Matt made a short, ugly sound.
Stop!
A man shouted. The command cracked down the tunnel. Calder reached in, grabbed the transport case by the front handle, and pulled. Lena held on. For one furious second, they were not allies. They were two people fighting over the dead. Calder met her eyes.
I am not taking it from you. I am getting it over the lip,
Calder said.
If you try to keep it, I will break your hand.
Try not to aim for the thumb,
Calder said. Together they hauled the case through the access panel. Matt scrambled after it, backpack catching on the frame. Lena grabbed the strap and yanked him free as a flashlight beam cut through the space where his head had been. A shot cracked against the metal panel, a violent slap that filled the loading dock with ringing. Matt hit the concrete on hands and knees.
Were they shooting at us?
Matt asked.
Warning shot,
Ortega said.
That warning achieved awareness.
Car, now.
Ortega said. They ran low across the dock. Calder kept himself between Lena and the open service panel, which might have been courage or calculation. Rain blew under the overhang, slicking the concrete. The transport case wheels finally worked, clattering behind them. The SUV's rear hatch opened before they reached it. A woman stepped out of the passenger side with a compact pistol held low. Lena recognized the posture before the face. Controlled. Economical.
Case in first,
Ortega said.
You.
Lena kept one shoulder between Ortega and the case.
I made the call.
You were the caller. And the texts?
Calder reached for the case strap and stopped when Lena's grip tightened.
Some mine, some routed through people who still have camera access. Questions in the car.
Lena hated the efficiency of the answer, and hated more that it gave her something solid to test. Ortega lifted the pistol toward the access panel and fired once. The shot snapped bright blue against the metal frame. One of the men inside jerked back and dropped out of sight. Lena stared.
Was that?
Matt began.
Stun round,
Ortega said.
From a handgun?
Ortega's free hand brushed the small shape under her collar before she moved again. Not a cross, not exactly. A raised hand inside a circle, worn nearly flat.
Get in,
Ortega said. Calder and Matt loaded the transport case into the rear cargo well. Lena kept one hand on it until the hatch closed, because the message had said not to give him the case, and because every instinct she owned had become a locked fist. Another figure leaned out from the back seat, wire-rimmed glasses, unshaven, a hard exhaustion around the eyes. He had a bag on his lap and a black neural band dark against his temple.
Dr. Ariston?
Who are you?
Lena asked.
Ezra Kane, VERITAS Ethics Review.
Absolutely not.
Ezra did not defend himself.
That is a reasonable first response.
Make room.
He shifted toward the third row without protest, making room. Lena climbed in, still facing him, still half ready to kick him out of the vehicle. Matt slid in beside her, breathing hard and leaving a wet handprint on the door plastic. The transport case thudded once in the cargo well, then settled under its strap. The SUV smelled of rain, old upholstery, gun oil, and a child's orange marker rolling somewhere under the front seat. Ortega took the front passenger seat. Calder got behind the wheel. The SUV pulled away before Lena had fully closed the door. Behind them, flashlight beams swept across the rain-slick concrete where they had been. Then Calder cut the wheel, and the building vanished behind a sheet of water. The SUV moved without headlights through the service road, then snapped them on only when it merged behind a delivery truck. Calder was not driving like a panicked benefactor. He drove like a man who had practiced escapes and hated that he needed to. That did not make him safer. It made him more interesting as a threat.
Where are we going?
Lena asked.
Warehouse near the river,
Calder said.
Temporary. 20 minutes if we are not followed.
Lena kept one hand against the cargo strap over the skull case.
That answer should not have needed rehearsal.
Ezra stayed quiet in the third row, which made him marginally less objectionable.
You have both skulls?
Calder asked.
Why do you know there are two?
Firmware matched NEP-001. Ortega saw the second case.
You put cameras on my samples and called the footage an answer.
Your data hit a neural interface build this morning. Voss's archive merged. Ezra can prove the path.
For those of us not paid by the conspiracy,
Matt said.
The skull file touched the implant code?
Yes,
Ezra said.
NEP-001 in Lena's lab. The Nephilim phrase in VERITAS firmware. Same hidden root.
He glanced toward Calder.
That may be legally complicated.
I am building a lawsuit folder in my head.
Calder's eyes flicked to the rearview mirror.
You think I am the enemy.
Lena turned the full force of the last hour on him.
I think you knew the object ID of a skull in my lab, called me minutes after Tessa warned me about anyone reaching for it under the word Nephilim, and then appeared at a loading dock while armed men chased me.
It is a strong evidentiary chain,
Ezra said.
I also opened the panel.
Calder said.
Because I needed what was on the other side.
Lena had expected denial. Calder gave her none.
I need the skulls, your data, Dr. Kane's access, Ortega's people, and you.
His hands tightened on the wheel.
Because Iris is brilliant, terrified, sensitive to the same markers that show up in the skulls, and born with enough that VERITAS noticed before anyone should have.
Say the center,
Lena said.
The skulls point to what Voss wants. Ezra can freeze the code. Ortega can slow the men. You can keep the evidence honest. Iris is why all of it matters.
Born with.
Enough for them to notice her.
And Voss?
Voss believed born with was not enough.
The line hung there like a confession with missing pages. Lena leaned forward. The question came out lower than Lena intended.
Did you let him near her?
I let VERITAS near her because I thought monitoring could protect her. Voss built half the pediatric safeguards. He knew the failure cases by name, birthdays, allergies, which children hated soft toys.
Calder swallowed.
He sat on the floor with patients so the bed rails did not make them feel trapped.
That sounds kind.
It was. Then it wasn't.
What changed?
He started saying the limit was the enemy, that a body kept inside what it could safely bear was a body betrayed, and that the timid called the betrayal mercy. What I should have heard was the other thing under it, that he had stopped believing he owed anyone an answer, not the board, not the families, not the slower men who might have told him no.
Calder looked at the rain through the windshield.
I funded the room before I understood that was the dangerous part.
Ezra spoke from the third row, quieter than accusation.
That is not the same answer.
I suspected archive protocols. I did not know he still had Iris's data until it was too late.
You suspected enough to hide her.
And not enough to hide her well.
Lena made herself ask the thing under all of it.
You keep saying he had her data. Data does not make a child the only person who can walk into that archive and live. What did he do to her, Calder?
Calder's hands tightened until the wheel creaked.
He did not touch her genes,
he said.
I need you to hear that. I checked it 100 times, hoping it was the one line he had not crossed. He had not needed to. He told me once that genes only write down what a body has already decided to become, that if you want to change what a person is, you change the pattern underneath, the shape a body tunes itself toward. He called it the field. He moved hers. Her body followed it. The markers you found are the footprints it left in her afterward.
The rain filled the silence.
She is still herself,
Calder said, too fast.
Fully human. He only made her more able to hear.
More able to hold what no one was ever meant to hold.
Lena said. She knew the idea was not only Voss's. Fringe men had called it morphic resonance for 40 years and been laughed out of the journals. Then serious labs had grown eyes where no eye belonged, on a tadpole's tail, in the wall of its gut, by altering the electrical pattern the cells were reading. The voltage, not the local genome, had decided an eye should grow there, and it grew. The body asked a field what to build, and built it. Voss had simply stopped waiting for the field to be understood and started moving it. It frightened her more than he did, because of how cleanly it would work. In the short run, a moved field need not touch the genome at all. The body would simply express the new shape, the way epigenetics wakes and silences genes without rewriting a single letter, survivable inside one lifetime. That was Iris. In the long run, across many lifetimes, ordinary selection finished what the field began. The bodies that could carry the new shape lived and bred, and the shape sank into the genome until it read as ancestry. That was the skulls. The markers were never the cause. They were the receipt, what survival filed away after the field decided which shape a body should take. A field that decides is not a field. It is an intelligent field, and Lena's whole discipline had an unspoken rule about the word that follows intelligent when the subject is where form comes from. She would not say that word. She would not say whose intelligence either. She had a career's worth of reasons, and not one of them was holding. She had spent that career insisting that unknown did not mean permission. She had never let herself ask the next question. Permission from whom? For the first time, Calder sounded less like a man in control and more like a father who had run out of places to put blame. Ezra looked down at his own hands, clasped too tightly in his lap. The neural band at his temple reflected one dull blink from a passing streetlight and went dark again. Matt leaned forward, voice thinner now.
Practical panic question. Where is Iris now?
In transit,
Calder said.
That is not a location.
Calder did not look away from the road.
It is what we have. She left a monitored safe site 6 hours ago,
Calder said.
A safe site, run by whom?
Mine.
Compromised.
My side caught fragments. Airport cameras, 2 false passports, 1 private cargo manifest. Peru.
Paracas. The skulls came from there. She hears resonance like a voice in a crowd.
Lena felt Matt go very still beside her. Even he knew not to joke with that sentence.
You let her get to an airport?
Calder's answer had the shape of pride until grief cut through it.
She got herself there.
She's 12.
I know.
Then say that.
Calder flinched.
You're right.
Ezra looked at Lena then, properly for the first time, not as a figure from a surveillance frame.
That she is 12.
Lena held his gaze. There was grief in his face, without pity or performance. Lena looked away first.
I am not your worst problem in this vehicle.
No one said that out loud.
I am reading the room.
Headlights appeared behind them. One pair, then another. Ortega looked at the side mirror.
We are followed.
Under her breath, in a language Lena did not catch, Ortega said 2 words that sounded too old for traffic and too calm for pursuit.
How many?
Lena asked.
2, maybe 3.
Please tell me this SUV has another trick.
It has bad suspension and a full tank,
Ortega said. Matt buckled himself tighter.
Left at the underpass.
That road floods.
Then they have to want it.
Calder cut left so sharply Matt grabbed the door handle. The SUV dropped into a service lane beside the river, tires hissing through standing water. Behind them, one set of headlights followed. The second hesitated at the turn. Lena twisted to see through the rear window. The transport case sat in the cargo well, strapped down but exposed. Her evidence. Tessa's warning. The dead who had not yet been allowed to speak. And somewhere beyond Austin, a living child was being pulled toward the same origin point. The SUV hit a flood channel. Water sheeted up over the windows. For half a second, the world vanished. Then they broke through, still moving. Ortega checked the mirror.
One vehicle stalled,
Ortega said.
I take back my criticism of the flooded road,
Matt said.
You may keep it. We still have one.
The remaining headlights swung into view behind them. Calder accelerated. Lena braced one hand against the seat and the other against the case strap. She did not trust Calder. She did not trust VERITAS. She barely trusted Ortega, and she did not know Ezra at all. But the men behind them wanted the skulls, and Calder had said the living one was 12. For now, that was enough to keep her in the car. She had no belief yet, no faith, only a direction. The same direction was being followed, at that moment, by a green service van crossing the dunes outside Paracas, with a 12-year-old in the back among canvas bags. Iris had stopped counting bumps. The road had turned to sand, then to stone, and the hum that had been under the asphalt was now in the wall of the van, and in the metal floor, and in the small bones behind her ears. It was not louder. It was closer. As if the ground at Paracas were not just praising God in general the way her grandmother said all ground did, but praising him in a particular voice. This stretch of ground had been keeping for a long time. She did not know yet that adults, a continent away, were arguing about her in a moving SUV. She knew the road was almost done pointing. She found the last whole cracker in her pocket and held it in her fist instead of eating it. Saved food made later feel more likely. The van slowed. A man's voice she did not know spoke through the front window. The driver answered, careful. A door slammed. Footsteps walked around to the back of the van. Iris did not move. The latch lifted.